Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase podcast. I'm your host, Jill Hart, and with me today is Lynne Roe. Lynne is a certified professional coach, group facilitator, and change maker. Lynne helps independent business owners develop a foundation of leadership that serves as a catalyst for growth. Applying knowledge and skills acquired over the decades of working with small and large companies, nonprofits, and family businesses, she guides clients in building businesses that are profitable, sustainable, and valuable, with a focus on strategic planning, sound decision-making, and leveraging their strengths and those of their teams. Welcome to the show, Lynne. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So tell us your story a little bit. How did you get into what you're doing as a coach and group facilitator?
A lot of what I focus on with my clients is developing a strategic plan for how they're going to grow their business to where they want it to be. And I got into it. I was a coach already, but then it was just about the time I started the business. My daughter was away at college and she called me and she said that she had just fallen down the stairs and she had a concussion and would I please come pick her up? And of course, we ran up and we picked her up and we brought her home and the doctor said, oh, she'll be fine in 2 weeks. Maybe it'll take a little longer, but okay. And we thought, all right, that's great. And she didn't get better right away. Then they started saying, well, maybe 2 months. And then they said, well, maybe 2 months to 2 years. And in the meantime, I had just started my business and I had this daughter who she was unable to walk without assistance. She was bumping into walls and falling down and it was a very severe concussion. And I thought, wow, this is not good, but how do I keep the business going? And then it was 2 years to this could be permanent for her. And so I really had to think about how am I going to grow my business? I was so excited about the business. I just started it. I was really excited about getting there. How am I going to grow the business and make it successful, right? And still be there for my daughter, because of course that's something I needed to and wanted to do. And I'd done a lot of strategic planning for big corporations and for independent companies and also for not-for-profits. And in the process, I'd kind of developed a way of doing it. And then I said, well, I can apply that strategic plan to myself. How do I develop this business as a business where I can grow the business and still be there for my daughter? And so I developed a process for creating a strategic plan for myself. And my clients heard about it and they said, oh, let me try that, see if we can do that together. And so I started doing this process with my clients. And it was great. They loved it. And they came up with a really great plan for moving forward. So that's how I got started with it. In the meantime, it was 8 years before my daughter's personality came back. It was 10 years before she went back to college, and she just recently graduated from college. So very, very excited and happy that she was able to do that. But it was a very long process for her to get there. And that meant I needed to be there for her very much. So,
and in the meantime, trying to grow a business from the ground up. And having it's terrible and tragic what happened to your daughter, but out of that tragedy came this amazing process that can help so many people that are really struggling to scale. And that's really what we're talking about, is how to scale without losing your mind. Because most
Absolutely.
entrepreneurs, they start out and then they don't have any constraints around them. So they burn themselves out because they're just like, if I work harder, faster, more, better, do all the things, then I'm going to have amazing results. And it doesn't always work that way.
It doesn't. My strategic planning always starts with what's the lifestyle that you want to be living? And let's build a business to support that lifestyle rather than the other way around where your life is dedicated to building the business.
And knowing what the end goal is.
Yeah.
I think so many people just get started and they're just like, I'm gonna go for it and I'm gonna just do it. And they have no idea where they're going, what their main goal is, what their mission is, and how will they know if they've gotten there?
Exactly. And they end up going off on tangents all the time that are not taking them in the right direction for where they really want to be. You know, oh, this looks like a good idea, I'll go do that. This looks like a good idea, I'll go do that. And it's a lot of wasted time. It's a lot of frustration. And as you said, they often never get there. So
Yeah,
that plan
they
makes a huge difference.
in the whole idea, it's where the shiny object syndrome comes in, because you don't really have a goal other than, you just know you need to make some money. And so you start like grasping at all the straws, but instead of looking at things strategically and saying, okay, I'm going to add this because it's going to support X, Y, and Z, you just start piling on and hoping something is going to magically work for you.
That's exactly right. When
So
business owners start, they do that. They think about, this is where I just want to make some money, I'll do that. I want to make some money, I'll do that. I want to make some money, I'll go do that. And it's not taking them in the right direction necessarily.
yeah, I mean, I can think of ways where that business model does work, but it's usually in referring. It's an affiliate sort of thing where you refer people to all of these different shiny objects, but you need a business model to
Right.
like start with, rather than just like,
You need a focus to start with.
yeah.
And then you can be discerning. This sounds like a great idea and it's going to take me where I want to go. So I'll go do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes for me personally, because I am that person. I have been that person for many years. And then I finally realized that I needed to get focused and I needed to figure out, what am I doing here? What is my main mission? And will I know when I accomplish it? So I did that. I did that hard work. But I am still a solopreneur, and I do, honestly, I do go off on tangents sometimes just because
we
it's
all
fun.
do, right? We all go off on tangents a little bit, but it's nice when you have that direction and you can say to yourself, is this a tangent I should take?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Do I have time for it?
Do I have time? Do I have other resources I might need for it? What's it going to take away from if I do that? Because anytime you do something, it takes away from something else. So what is it taking away from, so that I can plan that out in advance?
Yeah. So what is your model in terms of like, how do you work with your clients? I guess would be the best place to start.
So when I work with clients, I almost always start with that strategic plan, developing that plan. And I do that as a VIP intensive. We do it all at once. Takes about 4 hours or so to create the plan for long term. And then from there, I work with my clients to implement the plan, right? And to stay accountable to actually achieve the plan. We do that by coaching every couple times a month to get to where they want to be. And then I'm there, of course, when challenges come up, because the challenges always do come up, or as they're growing so fast that they need to make a change, because any plan is not a final plan. It's the start. It gives you direction. It helps you get started. It helps you think things through so you don't miss some steps. But as the world happens, things change and you have to make adjustments to your plan.
So when it comes to working with your clients and creating this strategic plan, what does a strategic plan look like for somebody who's maybe getting into the coaching world or been in the coaching world, and they have a few clients and they're doing their thing, but they really don't understand how to scale. They don't understand how to increase their impact. Is most of what
Right.
the people that I interact with are looking for.
When you're scaling a business, it impacts all areas of the business. So it's yes, you need to do more or different marketing. Yes, you maybe need to increase your ability to sell, so your sales. You also need to focus on your operations. That has to expand. And if you're really going to grow the business, let's say you wanted to get to 7 figures, you can't do it alone. There's no way that there's just no time in your life to be able to do everything all by yourself. And so you also have to build the team. And so a strategic plan looks at all of those pieces. And then the last piece is, what is the impact or the client journey, that we want them to have, and how can we make that be an outstanding journey for them? So the strategic plan looks at all of those areas. And what do we need to put in place so that those go the way that we want them to go? And then with your strategic plan, you're going to look long term, and then you're going to look maybe long term is 10 years out for you, perhaps. And then where do we need to be before that, around 3 years? What do we need to do this year? And in my mind, a strategic plan really should break it down by quarter and even by month. What are we doing each month? It's not everything you're doing, but it's what are we doing to forward our business towards the outcome that we want each month in all those areas.
And do you help people in terms of building a team? And
Yes.
because that's an outsourcing.
Yes.
Those are things that I know people are like,
Yeah.
I tried Upworks.
Well, and building a team, it doesn't necessarily have to be full-time person. It can certainly be, sometimes it's someone who has their own business, but they're your support. If they're a tech person and they do all your tech for you, that's amazing, right? So that's part of your team, even if it's not a full-time team, but they have to become part of your team to get you to where you want to be. So yes, I definitely help people build the team, and it really starts with you as the owner of the business. You have to change the way that you think. If you're going to scale, let's say you're going from 6 figures to 7 figures, if you want to make that scaling jump, you have to stop saying to yourself, how do I do this? You have to start saying, who can do this for me? You make that shift in your mind, and then you can start to see, okay, I need to bring in this person or this type of person to help me. And sometimes, as I said, that's full-time, and sometimes it's a part-time thing.
So what do you say to the clients that you have that come at you with, I just don't want to take the time to train somebody to do this thing that I know how to do, and I do it really fast.
Yeah.
And I know that you can't do everything, but
you can't. But here's the other thing that as a business owner, you really need to think about. Are you doing things that are a $20 an hour job, which is taking away from you doing the things that are the $1,000 an hour job or $500 an hour job? If you can get someone to do 10 hours a week of the $20 an hour jobs, that means you can devote those 10 hours to doing the jobs in your business that you're not doing now because you don't have time, the $500 an hour things or the $1,000 an hour things. And those are the things like strategic planning, like sales, like marketing. Those are the kinds of things that you can pay someone to help you with them, but you actually have to be the face of the business at this size business that we're talking about.
And how do people get from being a solopreneur to being a CEO of a team and really
Well,
really
first it
making
has-
seven
yeah.
figures.
First, it really has to be a desire to want to be there. And it's not right for everyone. You know, for some people, a couple 100,000 is plenty and they're happy with that. And maybe they get some help. Maybe they have a bookkeeper part-time and maybe they have an admin person part-time and that's all they need and they're happy with that. So as I said in the beginning, it really starts with what's the lifestyle you want to be living. Because if you want a higher income, if you want more take-home pay, you're going to have to start to build that team. And then that's the process of, okay, where do I start? What's the first thing I need? And as I said, often it's the bookkeeper and the admin person. Not always, but often. A lot of people say, I just want to hire someone to do the sales for me. Well, honestly, that's one of the last things you hire for. You know, you're pretty much over $1 million before you can hire a salesperson because you have to be really good at it yourself first.
Yes.
Yeah.
That it's the thing that most coaches hate,
Yes.
but it's the thing that you have to do.
Yep. Yep. And the other thing that actually has to get put in place along the way, and I kind of alluded to this when I was telling you about the different parts of a strategic plan, and that is what are the systems and processes we have to put in place to be efficient with what we're doing? Because sometimes you don't have to hire somebody. Sometimes you can create an efficient system for how I'm going to get things done. And that's not always a digital kind of system. Sometimes automation is the best thing, but sometimes it's as simple as a checklist that your admin can follow. But putting those processes in place helps everybody on the team become more efficient so that you can handle more work without doing more work.
And I think creating those kinds of documents as you're doing them yourself and as you're creating the processes while you're doing it yourself helps when you're growing a team because you can just say, okay, this is what I was doing. So
Yes.
here you can follow it. And it can be as simple as just screenshotting your process.
Yeah.
Turning on screen record and recording while you're doing something.
Yeah.
And then you can upload it to YouTube and put it on private.
Yeah.
Unlisted.
I highly recommend doing it that way, using Loom or one of those programs that can follow your process on the computer, how you do it. The key to that, there's a couple of keys to that. One is you need to make sure you explain why you're doing things a certain way, because you also need to teach your team how you think and why you thought that way. Because otherwise they always naturally, if you've got a good team, they naturally want to try to improve things. But if they don't understand why you're in the place that you're at and why you did it this way to begin with, they often will skip steps that you know are important, but they didn't realize it because you didn't explain it to them. So telling them along the way, this is why it's important, is critical. And another thing to think about is that you should not be the person actually writing up your standard operating procedures or whatever. It should be you explain it to somebody else and then they create the standard operating procedure for you. Then they send it back to you and you review it. And invariably you'll see there's steps that got missed because you naturally just hit this button and do that. But they didn't know to do that. And ideally, then you take that same process and you give it to somebody who doesn't know how to do it at all and see how they do. And then you'll really know what's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good points. I think also being open to input from those that you bring on is important, especially if you're hiring people that are better than you at doing what you're trying to get done.
Yeah.
You know, you may have a process, but in implementing the system like you're talking about in terms of how to share something with other people, if you have them write it up and they come back with, okay, this is how you said to do it, but this and this, you might look at it this way. And it gives you another set of eyes to say, oh, I never thought of that.
Right.
And, or or I did think of that and that's not going to work, but I appreciate you thinking of it too, because maybe there's some merit there and maybe I need to revisit it because somebody else thought of it.
Absolutely. And as a solopreneur in the beginning, you often will be hiring, your team will be people who are better at things than you are. You're not necessarily teaching them how to do the job. You may be teaching them how you do it, but they already know a lot more than you. And very often they can take you a lot further than if you hire someone who's totally green and knows nothing and have to teach them from scratch. So
Right.
they can help you grow faster because they know more than you. Yeah.
When I talk about graphic design in my world, I'm just like, yeah, there
Yeah.
are people that understand colors and design, and there's so much to it. You can do the DIY, but DIY always looks like DIY.
Yeah. Graphic designers, it's something I don't do. So you've got the advantage on me there. But yes, they can do something so much faster and better than I can and get my same idea across, but it looks so much better, so, using their expertise is critical.
So let's talk about the money end of things,
Okay.
because that's an important piece in business. We're all here to make money ultimately, by helping other people and making the world a better place, but money is what makes it move. So when would you suggest people start looking at building teams, or would you how does, in terms of income, I mean, where are the jumps? Because I know that there are jumps in different places.
People always seem to be around 30,000 and they want to hire a team already. And it's really too soon. You could, but you won't have anything left for you if you do that. So I usually say, wait until you're at least over 100 before you start 100,000 before you start adding team.
A month or a year?
A year. Yeah.
Okay.
100,000 a year. Yeah. Before you start adding a team. And then it's a part-time help. By the time you get over 250, you really need a team. You really need team members once you're over 250. And then, as I said earlier, I don't think you should hire a sales team until you're over $1 million in the year. Yeah.
And when you work with your clients, do you help them as far as marketing, paid advertising, those kinds of things, or do
I'm
you?
not an expert in paid advertising, so I usually recommend that they work with someone who is an expert. But that all becomes part of the strategic plan. How are we going to have people find out about us, become aware of us, that we even exist? So part of the strategic plan is, what is the marketing plan? How are we going to use paid advertising? Are we going to use just social media? Are we going to be speaking? Are we going to be going out and doing events? There's lots of ways that you could, you can market yourself. So, and you can't do it all. So identifying the few ways that you're really going to focus on, and then that becomes part of the strategic plan. How do we make those things happen?
And then that works in with a plan for your daily operations, which
absolutely
moves everything together.
Yes, absolutely.
And do you start with, these are the boundaries of the time that I have that I want to work on my business? Or do you start with, these are the hours that you must work on your business and everything else has to fit in around it?
I really think in some ways that's up to the person. Some people are very specific. I'm only working these hours and I'm not doing anything else. So we have to develop a plan that'll work in those hours. And that could limit their upper limit of how much they're going to make if they're only going to work a certain number of hours. As you grow, you get bigger and you bring on team, you can actually work a few less hours because the team is taking up the excess. And as you build more processes and procedures and systems that make things run smoothly, you can cut back a few hours there as well and still get to where you want to be. So, but it does start with, what is it you're looking to do? Some people I meet are all in. I don't care if I work 12 or 15 hours a day. I'm going to do that for the next year, and then maybe I'll cut back. Other people are like, nope, I'm only these hours, and that's all I'm going to do. And then you build a strategic plan around that. That's why I always start with, what's the lifestyle you want to be living? Because I mean, I can build you a plan that will take you 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, or we can build a plan that's, 10 to 15 hours a week, at whatever times you want to be doing it. It will affect, though, how much you'll be able to make. Right? I mean,
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
So how do people really work with you? I mean, how do they find you,
Yeah.
see if they're a candidate for working with you?
Yeah, so sure. So obviously I have a website. They can look at my website, LSR Consultants with an S on it.com. So you can look at my website and you can find me that way. But I actually have a free assessment I would love to offer you. It's the Entrepreneur to CEO assessment, and it's a great way for you to just look at yourself and reflect where you are in your business and what you want to do or need to do next to scale the business, right? And everyone comes back to me and says, wow, I never thought I had all these things I had to be thinking about. So it's a great tool for you to use. So I'd love to offer you that as something you can download, and then, you can find me that way as well.
That sounds awesome. And I'm definitely going to go do it because I'm curious.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that.
So what's kind of the outer limits of where you would think that people would be like your ideal clients, in terms of, if somebody comes to you and says, I just really want to earn $10,000 a month and I'm totally happy and I only want to work maybe 20 hours a week. Is that a client for you, or are you more interested in working with people that are already making that kind of money and they want to scale? Or where are you in that?
I work with people who are just starting a business, and I've helped them scale very rapidly. I've got one client right now. He had just started his business when we started working together, and he's on track to hit $1 million this year. So, that's a rapid scaling for me in my mind. So they can be at that point where they're just starting, or they can be already making 6 figures and wanting to get to 7 figures. Often what happens is, somewhere in that process of being, somewhere in the 6 figures, they start to realize that they can't do it all themselves. Oh my God, I'm so busy. I have no time for my family. I never get dinner with my family. I missed vacation. And so they're really feeling frustrated with the fact that they can't get to where they want to be and still have a life. And those people still want to scale. So the people that I work with are the people who really do want to scale their businesses. If they're already making 10,000 a month and they're happy with 10,000 a month, that's awesome. Don't spend the money on me. You're already doing it, right? But if you're at a point in your business where you want to really scale the business, then that's when to talk to me.
Awesome. So is there anything that you'd really like to make sure that people know about what you're doing that I haven't asked you?
It's interesting. One of the things that I do is I work with family businesses, family-owned businesses, because it's a little more complicated. As the business is growing, you've got family members coming in and going out, and the leadership actually has to change of the family business. So the older generation is on its way out, the younger generation is coming in, and they have very different skills. And so the whole business has to adjust to accommodate the loss of the old skills and the gain of the new skills. So that's something I do with a lot of businesses that are family businesses, to help them make that transition before they can scale the business to where they want to be.
And you work with businesses, not necessarily only online businesses or coaches. You work with like all kinds of businesses.
I do. I work with mostly service-based businesses for the most part, but I have a whole lot of variety of types of businesses that I work with. Yeah. And also around the world. I have clients in the United States. Most of my clients are in the United States, but I also have clients in many other countries around the world.
The beauties of the internet, right?
It is. I keep saying though to my my client in New Zealand that I'd really like to have a reason to have to go to New Zealand.
For sure. It's so amazing that we can have relationships with people on the other side of the world, and it's really no different than if they live next door, other than they have to time travel back to see us.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
I love that. I've really enjoyed this conversation, Lynn. Is there one thing that you'd hope the audience takes away from our conversation?
That having a plan for where you're going is really critical. And I love this analogy. The average person spends about 15 hours planning a vacation, a 1-week vacation. You plan where to go and how to get there and what to take with you, and you plan events or special things so everybody's happy. But it's rare that I meet a business owner who spends that kind of time planning for the success of their business that's going to pay for that vacation. Seriously, take your business as seriously as you take your vacation, and spend the time to plan for it, because you'll have a much better result.
And faster.
And faster, yes.
Because you know where you're going.
Exactly, exactly.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.